This video is sponsored by Mark 7 Car Wash Equipment, providing clean, dry, shiny cars for over 50 years. Visit mark7.net for more information.
Welcome to another episode of Unscripted, the video series that connects you with market leaders. Today on our unscripted video interview, we're happy to welcome in Chuck Howard, CEO of Autobell Carwash and Howco Inc. Chuck, it's great to see you again, and thanks for doing this video interview with me.
Glad to be here, Rich, and thanks for the invite.
Sure thing. So, Chuck, I know Howco and Autobell been in the business for over 50 years now. Autobell operates over 80 car washes, so I'd say you have some experience with building, operating, and opening car washes. So I wanted to get you on the program today to discuss the important critical steps that new investors need to take prior to opening a car wash business, including the critical decisions on site selection. So Chuck, my first question for you is, as I just mentioned, your company has experience from start to finish in building and ultimately operating car washes. In your opinion, which stage of the process is the most challenging and why?
Well, Rich, I think without question, the planning part is the most difficult and seems to get more difficult every day. And as you go around, if you're a multiple site operator and you go around to different parts of the country, it seems it's a different list of requirements wherever you go. So the planning, the acquisition of the property, and then planning for the site and what type of wash you're going to build, how big is it going to be, issues maybe around zoning, special use permits, or different kinds of requirements in the community for architecture. All of that takes up a lot of time and engages the skills of other professionals, engineers, lawyers, architects, and of course, car wash consultants. It reminds me of a quote by Abraham Lincoln, somebody asked him if he had 6 hours to chop down a tree. He said, if I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 4 hours sharpening the axe. And so that's kind of where we are with planning for a car wash. You spend a lot of time researching and planning and drawing up all your site plans, your building plans, presenting them to the community. You may have to be involved in public hearings sometimes. So it's quite a process. So definitely the most difficult. Actually, it almost seems like when you get to the construction phase, that's the easy part.
For sure, yeah. We write about articles all the time on professional car washing and detailingcarwash.com. Obviously, we have to stay general because each location, as you just mentioned, there's different rules and regulations that operators need to abide by. So, can you walk us through the steps that you see when first deciding that you want to open up a car wash and then actually going through the grand opening?
Well, I guess there are two paths. One would be a complete greenfield where you're going to take a vacant piece of property and turn it into a car wash. The other would be maybe you're buying an existing facility, and what do you need to do to convert it to the system that you want? So let's say you're an investor and you're interested in car wash. We hear this all the time. Gee, I saw a car wash in my town or in the town next to me, and I'd really like to get into that business. How do I start? You're going to have to do some research, and probably you want to align yourself with a consultant, someone like Howco, our equipment company. There are a lot of great consultants out there who know a lot about the car wash industry. You begin to do your research and decide maybe what kind of car wash do you want to build. There's everything from self-serve, in-bay automatic, express exterior, full serve. You need to learn about all that. And then I guess property acquisition would be one of the first steps. And to accomplish that, probably going to engage a local real estate professional who knows the territory, so to speak, and can advise you on what sites might be appropriate as far as zoning, utilities, and that sort of thing. And there probably be more than one site that would be possible, maybe 3 or 4 or more. And so at that point, you would go to your car wash consultant professional who, in all likelihood, would be able to do site assessments on the sites that you think might work. And from that assessment, pick out the best one, and then create a financial plan for what car wash might look like, budget, if you will, and probably would recommend equipment that would go into that facility. So with that information in hand, and you've decided that it's a go, now you've got to deal with the local authorities. You're going to develop a site plan. You're going to have the services of some architects, engineers to design the facility, to make a presentation to the planners in the community where you're going. And a lot of things could be involved here. Is the property zoned correctly for a car wash? Sometimes it's zoned correctly, but there's no relying special use procedure that gets the whole community involved in your project, and involves public hearings and the like. So for that part, you need the local go-to guy. Usually in most communities, there's someone who could be a real estate professional, could be an attorney, could be an architect, but someone who is accustomed to guiding these projects through the permitting or the approval process. And then once you have the approvals, then it's on to permitting. So that's a whole nother step where you have to satisfy the utility department and the fire department and all the different departments who want to take a look at your plan and put their seal of approval. So all of that takes quite a bit of time, as you can imagine, because there's time standards for meetings, there's time standards for the authorities to look at your plan and comment on it, and then you have to send the plan back with comments corrected, on and on and on. This process can take quite a bit of time. It can be from a few months to a few years, depending on the jurisdiction that you're in. And then, like I said, once you have your permit in hand, of course, also during this process, you would be interviewing contractors who are actually going to build the building. And if you are not familiar with the building business, you're probably going to engage another consultant, construction management consultant, who can lead you through that part of the process, looking at the bids from different contractors and reconciling one against the other, and helping you make the decision for the best one. And so with that said, you're underway. The general contractors in place, your vendors for equipment and other supplies and things are beginning to get into place and set up delivery schedules. Building gets built, takes a few months, usually 3, 4, 5 months, maybe more. And near the end of that project, the equipment gets installed. And while during the construction, you're making your plan for your opening, for your marketing. How are you going to present the new facility to the community? And once the equipment is installed and up and running and tested, then you plan for a grand opening. Hopefully, a consultant who's been with you from the beginning will be there for the grand opening, and you're off and running. The other path might be the purchase of an existing facility, which might go a little faster because you already have a permitted site. Utilities are in place. The site plan hopefully is acceptable and doesn't need a lot of changes. Depending on the age of the facility, there may be some equipment change out that need to be made. And again, your consultant, car wash consultant, will help you with all of that. And while the process may be shorter, there may be some skeletons in the closet that you didn't know about. It's kind of like buying a used car. It looks good, but then when you start driving it, you find out all the little things that might be wrong with it. So you have to be prepared for that, build in that contingency that you're going to correct those things as you open up and continue to operate. So that process is a little faster, but there's pros and cons on both sides.
For sure. Yeah. In addition to that consultant being there for the grand opening, you hope there's plenty of customers there as well. And like you said, with a business acquiring a business, there are things you can change, such as the marketing, maybe even the equipment. One thing you can't change, Chuck, is the location. So as we mentioned at the top of this interview, site selection is critically important to get right from the beginning, right? So what do you and the folks at Howco look for when you're scouting locations? What are the hallmarks of what we would consider the gold standard, an A+ car wash site? And then on the flip side, what are the hallmarks of maybe sites that you tend to stay away from?
Yeah, well, there probably isn't a perfect site. I think that a lot of times all the good sites in developed areas are already spoken for. You can go out into a developing area and maybe find a better site. Then you have to wait for the area to grow up around you. But things like visibility, access, being able to see the facility if possible, and signage at least 300 or 400 feet before you get to it. If possible, near a stoplight, and you'd like to be on the go side of the stoplight, obviously, so traffic doesn't back up in front of your driveway. Of course, you want to be what I would call the front row. So sometimes you see car washes that are built on the second row or the third row. Doesn't mean they won't succeed, but it's going to be a lot harder. So it pays to invest in the A+ site, if at all possible. Shopping areas are better, I think, than being in a shopping area than being on say a commuter route. Traffic, you need traffic, but you don't necessarily need too much traffic. Some freeways might have 100,000 cars a day, but is that good if they're going by at 60 miles an hour, not interested in stopping? So traffic speed is important. And of course, demographics, depending on what type of wash you're building. If it's a high-end full serve or flex serve operation, you want good demographics with decent incomes and lots of people. And of course, you want to consider competition nearby. Those are some of the things I think that would make an A+ site.
Okay.
Transversely, the things that might not be so good would, like I said, would be on the wrong side of the stoplight with commuter traffic that backs up at rush hour, so you can't get in and out. Maybe a median that limits access from both directions. Not being on the front row. Sometimes you can get in the shopping center, but they want to put you in the back. They don't want the car wash on the front. So I would not necessarily go for that site. And I think sometimes just unmet expectations. Sometimes you get so excited about a new area opening up that maybe you pay too much for the site, or you have greater expectations than the site can deliver. And again, that's where dealing with a car wash consultant who has lots of experience can guide you through that process and talk about a reasonable investment level for what you're doing there.
All right, sounds good. Well, we appreciate you taking a few minutes here to discuss starting a car wash and the importance of site selection, Chuck. It's always great to see you, and thanks again for doing this interview for carwash.com.
It's good to see you, Rich, and thanks for all you do. I watch your programs a lot.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Chuck.